1967 C50 grain truck.
It's huge!
Why? Why not?
Since my cousin is kindly letting me build my dune buggy in his workshop, I like to repay his generosity by assisting him with his projects. 2 years ago, I helped my cousin rescue a 1967 Chevrolet C50 dump truck. It had been sitting behind a garage in a rural farm town for about 5 years gathering moss and families of field mice. We had to do a few things before we could attempt to drive this Goliath home. The ignition system needed checked, the brakes needed bled, and a new ignition switch needed to be wired up. We managed to get it running well enough to drive it roughly 20 miles back to the shop. Alright, 67 Chevy C50. It's been sitting for a year. It's been a headache all day. We finally had to bleed the brakes, dirty hands, so we're going to try to take it around the block and see if this works. So, first gear, and here we go. It's moving under its own power. It wasn't doing that this morning. Oh, man. He wasn't kidding when he said this thing was low geared.
I think it's got a 2-speed rear end too. So.
Oh, holy cow! So okay, and we are officially breaking the law. Uninsured, unregistered vehicle on the road. Oh my! This thing is so slow, but I love it. So that's like fourth gear, or no, that's third gear, going 20. And then that's 4. Yeah, okay.
Is that gas gauge thing right?
Oh, which one's the gas gauge? Oh, this one.
Yeah.
We're going at a fast enough speed now where if the brakes don't work, we could get into trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's where we want to be, you know what? All right. And applying brake. So yeah, from 30 to 0, we did that. We did it, 30 to 0. Oh boy.
Turn around.
Maybe.
I'll get on the video.
After some light touches of the throttle, we managed to get it safely back to a parking lot where we could do some more inspecting. The truck was low on fuel, but we were high on excitement. Took it for a spin, and we didn't die. I'm cackling like a lunatic. I love it. This is fantastic. It's $500 and a morning well spent. We scrounged up a little bit of fuel, and thankfully it made it to the nearest gas station that was a few miles away. With a full tank, we set out. And he's off. There goes the 67 C50 dump truck. So we got about 10 miles or so getting back into town. I'm trailing him in the old Ford pickup truck. So hopefully we don't have any issues. Yep, rolling stop, that's the only way to handle it. Especially something like that, you want to keep it moving. Yeah, buddy. The drive was uneventful, and the truck made it back to town. It was then nestled behind another building, where it sat for another 2 years. That is, until this last October, we decided to rip it out and hose it off and get it rolling again. Jesse and I thought we would start by changing the oil. We certainly didn't change it 2 years ago. Who knows who changed it before that? At any rate, we were both sure it had been a long time since this truck had seen fresh oil. Next, we pulled the distributor to see if we could tackle our intermittent spark issue. It was quite dirty and it was quite rusty. We noticed the distributor could do with a new set of points, and while we were at it, a new condenser. Jesse and I also gave it a high performance coil and a new cap and rotor. And spark plugs. Today's mystery is how on earth we drove this 1967 C50 20 miles with these spark plugs. If we look at them, yeah, that one probably wasn't firing. That one definitely wasn't firing. Yeah, another one not firing with spiders on it. Yeah. So we are getting some new NGKs in it. And this thing is probably going to run the smoothest it's ever ran in probably 15 years. So just 3 hours on the C50 and it's back running again. Sounds pretty sweet. It's been sitting here for about 2 years, so it's good to hear it jump back into life after just a little bit of fiddling. Look at that. That is running much sweeter now. So smooth. And look at that. That little bracket is barely vibrating. Beautiful. Alright, so after we got it running, we've moved it. We parked it somewhere else. So see, now it's parked in front of the house, and before it was parked back there behind the shed where you couldn't see it. Which is good because no one bothered us about it. So we're going to wait and see how long it takes before we get into trouble for having it up here. It did run great though. No problems coming all the way up here. We will need brakes though. Brakes are non-existent, so stopping was a little bit of a challenge. But it has a trans brake, which helps slow things down quite a bit. But this thing is sweet. A little bit of elbow grease, and we'll be back in business. I love this thing. There's a tree. Now we were curious to see what the dump truck would look like without a layer of moss on it. With some assistance from pressurized water, Jesse was able to shake decades of detritus from the truck's finish, and it brought back a bit of brilliance to the tired and faded exterior of the old dump truck. With a clean truck, we're going to wait for the next installment. We're going to tackle the braking system and try to find a more permanent solution to the ignition switch. So be sure to catch us next time, hopefully before it gets too cold here.